Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield joins us now. Thank you so much, Attorney General, for being with us. What more can you tell us about what happened?
Yeah, and this is a developing investigation, and so there's not a lot that we want to disclose at this point in terms of how this is unfolding. I think for people in Oregon, for people across the country to really see what's going on in Oregon, we have the Federal Bureau of Investigation that's conducting their own investigation, and we're launching our own independent investigation as well into this. I think you see in a time where we've had 2 shootings within 2 days, the public, especially here in Oregon, demand that there be transparency as well as accountability when appropriate, depending on what the investigation unfolds. So it's very early. Obviously, this happened yesterday, but we really want to make sure that we can help restore trust in our public safety and judicial system.
I mean, we heard from the police chief in Portland that they weren't there to witness the scene, so they could not provide any basic information about the case other than that they responded to a shooting call some time away or distance away from where this particular incident took place. Can you help us understand a little bit of the timeline based on what you have learned? Did Portland police learn about this shooting solely from the victims calling 911, or did federal officers or authorities alert police as well to the shooting?
Yeah, and obviously there was a 911 call, and then you have a crime scene, or an incident scene is probably a better description of that, where you have local law enforcement securing the scene as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation conducting their own independent investigation into what occurred. We, as the Oregon Department of Justice, want to come in, and what we are doing is going to be partnering with the Portland Police Department to actually come in and conduct our own independent investigation separate from the FBI's own investigation. Oftentimes, sometimes they can lead to similar conclusions when you're coming through this type of I think what I would say, a very tense situation. But the important thing is that Oregonians, people in Portland, have trust in the investigation, have trust in the outcome, that there is transparency, and when appropriate, depending on what is discovered, that there is accountability.
Are you confident that you and your investigators will have access to all potential evidence in this case?
I think what is unique things that's going on here in Oregon right now is that there is cooperation, and that there is conversations between our federal counterparts and our local law enforcement. And so we're starting off on the right foot. Obviously, we take things one day at a time. But again, I think we're privileged in a state like Oregon, where right now that we are experiencing a degree of cooperation between our federal law enforcement.
The Department of Homeland Security says at least one person who was shot is an undocumented immigrant and alleged that both are tied to the Tren de Aragua gang. Is there any evidence to support this? What do we know about the 2 people who were shot?
Yeah, and this is one of those things I would love to come on these shows and disclose the things that we know. And I know that the federal government often will, start a narrative about the various facts that are on the ground. We're pausing and to gather all the information before really talking about the investigation. And when we come out, we want to be able to present a full, transparent set of facts, so that way that we can have a more accurate discussion. So right now, unfortunately, I don't have much more to disclose about the details of the individual.
Can you talk to us about the process a little bit? What steps are you and your office taking to get all the facts?
So we have a team of special agents and investigators, as well as you have folks at the Portland Police Bureau that will be working in partnership to do an investigation. And it is just what you think, right? If you're someone going through your community, whether it's a burglary, whether it's a homicide in your local community, there's a set of investigations and techniques that go on. I mean, that could be as simple as interviewing witnesses and bystanders to looking at hard evidence, that is on the scene. And so these are the type of things that you would expect any investigation to go through, tried and true tactics as we move forward.
In this incident, as well as the one in Minneapolis earlier this week, DHS said the driver weaponized the vehicle. In an investigation, when it comes to the law, how difficult is it to prove or determine the difference between weaponizing a vehicle and someone just trying to leave a tense scene or flee in fear?
Yeah, and these are the things that you're gathering through the factual evidence. I mean, some of the best evidence can come in the form of video evidence, as you saw in Minnesota. Other evidence, you can look at the physical damage to the cars, and there are other indicators, at every incident scene. And so these are the type of things that both the federal law enforcement as well as our local law enforcement will be looking at to really determine what happened, when it happened, how it happened, and that is what's going on right now.
Given we have seen these back-to-back shootings this week in two different cities involving federal immigration agents and moving vehicles, what does that signal to you about the training or culture?
And you bring up a really good point. I mean, what we have here in our country right now is a high degree of skepticism on how the president's administration is moving forward with conducting their everyday business. Within 2 days, we've had 2 shootings. Here in Oregon, during our trial with the National Guard issue, it was disclosed that there had been regular excessive force going on in the streets here in Portland. Because of that, you have this heightened issue. I mean, this sensitivity to these issues, which frankly is the need that we need to have an independent investigation by the Oregon Department of Justice and local law enforcement in this. But I think as we, as a society, as a country, as you have leaders, the way and the tone and tenor that they're talking about these things, it can lead to that culture. It can breed a different set of ideals or a different set of ways that people go about this if they feel impunity that they can't be held accountable. And again, in this current present case here in Oregon, we're just asking people to reserve judgment. But I do think we have a systemic issue in the way the Trump administration is pursuing a lot of their rhetoric, which trickles down to the front lines across this country.